I'm impressed by you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Do you know
For
why?
so many reasons.
There's many reasons, but do you
Yeah.
know why I'm happen to be impressed by you now, today?
Why?
You've been committed to your workout regimen.
I have.
I mean, seriously.
I know.
Just to give you context to the listeners and to those who might be viewing on YouTube, I woke up this morning at 8 a.m. I slept in. It's a Saturday, by the way. Very excited about doing our podcast on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Woke up at 8 a.m. to no one next to me. And I'm like, where did she go? And I'm thinking, oh, maybe she got coffee. No, I wasn't getting coffee. You went on this incredible walk.
I know. I think I did 8 miles or something crazy. I definitely overdid it. I was already on the trail. I was so far by the time you woke up and you called me. And I went early because obviously it's getting so hot in Austin. So I want to try to go early so it's not that hot. But it was so hot regardless. And I didn't get to go the last 2 days. So I just in my head rationalized it like, oh, let me just like go for it. Like just do twice as much or whatever. And you saw me when I got back. I was just so fried and so tired.
A hot, sweaty mess.
I was, yeah. I walked into the door and Rick is like, oh, Jesus.
I was like, Jesus, you need to get in the shower. No, I'm really impressed though. But you know, you've been putting forth so much effort to work out and get your body moving, and proud of you.
You know what kicked this off for me, at least? I know that you didn't have the same experience. Was our month of no pizza, no burgers, no fries. Yeah. That really made a difference. And I was also thinking about our international listeners because, I mean, how quote unquote American can you get that we need to be like off of burgers and fries and pizza? So, but anyway, that month really kicked things off for me. And I was just feeling better about myself and I started feeling more fit. And then on top of that, I layered a circuit fitness challenge with our friend Karen. So then I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and planks. And then after that, then I was like, oh, let me throw in some jumping jacks and let me extend my walks and let me do this and let me do that. And it's turned into a whole thing. And I feel really, really good. So thank you.
You're rolling right now with this. I mean, it's been consistent. The burgers and pizza have really gone by the wayside for me as well.
Yes.
I'm just not craving them because I think we took that hiatus.
Right. Exactly. You know? And I'm just craving healthy food and everything is just feeling really good. So thank you for recognizing that.
Well, I'm very proud of you. And I'm also proud of myself.
Okay.
By the way, real quick,
what
I'm grateful for.
Yes.
Morning rituals.
Okay.
My child-free grateful moment of this podcast is morning rituals.
Yes.
So let me paint the picture real quick before I get into why I'm proud of myself.
Okay. Please.
Today I woke up at 8 with you gone. I moseyed. I'm going to use that word. I moseyed down to the cafe, got myself a coffee, and in our building is this nice garden area. I went to the garden area and I sipped my coffee, and this is why I'm proud of myself. I finished my book. And that's a big moment for me because I rarely read prior to audiobooks because I have dyslexia.
Right.
And I'm an auditory learner. So the fact that I'm tearing through books in our membership community as well as on my own, I'm just like so happy.
I know you're doing amazing with that.
Yeah.
So wait, you finished what book? Because now I can't even keep up with your books. Is that the like being present or?
So
book?
This is the book is called The Power of Letting Go.
Oh, okay, right.
I highly recommend it.
Right.
There's so many takeaways. I could do a whole podcast on just this book. But
right.
One of the takeaways that I had is I realize I'm an incredible author. In the sense that the stories I tell myself, I mean, I'm Hemingway. I am John Grisham. I am Charles Dickens when it comes to stories that I tell myself.
I know.
I just realized that I'm in this ongoing cycle of creating these stories, past and present, that don't exist.
Right.
And I can't let go and move forward. And this book really outlines that.
I mean, I love that so much. I think, and obviously most of us to an extent create these stories for ourselves. I have created these stories that I tell myself throughout my lifetime. And then I have to say, no, I just made this up completely in my head. And 99.9% of the stories that we tell ourselves never happen. So that's the big, not so surprising ending, right? That we just drive ourselves insane for no reason.
Yeah, it's crazy that we really believe these stories too. We're
Mm-hmm.
convinced they're going to happen. And
Right.
it's mostly negative
Right.
thoughts. But these stories detract us from moving forward. And that's the real problem. So one little tidbit I want to bring up from the book is this notion of borrowing desires, quote unquote. And it teaches you how you need to be honest and look inward. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you're borrowing someone else's desires or
Yeah.
interests, it can have a complete effect on you, which causes you to make wrong decisions, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many examples of that, right? Borrowing desires. Maybe someone else is just crushing their career and they're an entrepreneur and they're
Talks
making
about that too.
$5 billion a year. And that has been their desire from day one. And someone is looking at them and thinking, like, that's the life I need to live. That's what's going to bring me joy. That's what's going to bring me happiness and fulfillment. But it's not really truly what they desire. They're just borrowing that. So, yeah, I love that term.
I'm very proud of myself for reading this book, getting through it,
Yeah.
taking away, and I think I'm
Yes.
going to read it again. I know I say that a lot about my books, but I just have to read them twice. I don't know
Well,
what it is.
I also want to say that I am proud of you back because there's one thing that you're really good at, and it's when you're reading a book, you implement as you
Mhm.
go. Because I feel like with these self-help books, people can read them and read them and read them and then just not really make any changes. But
Yeah.
you really make an effort. You read them and then you'll tell me, you're like, I just realized this. And then you try to apply it to your life immediately. And I really appreciate that because it doesn't feel like you're just reading and ingesting information, not really doing anything about it. Like you're taking actionable steps as you read. And I notice it because it changes a lot about how you handle things, how you deal with things. It improves our relationship. Like it's a
Sure.
win-win for everybody involved.
I feel like a rebirth
Yeah.
of education is happening with me right now. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm like, how much more can I learn? What else can I learn about, you
Right.
know?
Yes,
So it's
of
this weird
course.
thing I can't stop.
Before we move on, I just want to quickly say if anybody's watching on YouTube, because I have completely soaking wet hair, I literally just took a shower and
Yeah.
jumped on here. And I was just thinking about how I'm at the place where I'm just so comfortable. I think that probably in the first couple episodes, I was so worried about blowing up my hair and curling it or straightening it and doing something. So it just feels really good to just hop on here and be like, okay, this is this is what's happening right now.
Yeah, I
I
love
just
that.
got out of the shower and this is what you're getting. So
Your
it's
favorite
very
expression. I love that for you, that you're so confident and more comfortable with just being you after walking 16 miles.
So I'm excited about today's topic because we're going to dive into just really rude comments that we hear all the time. And this episode was inspired by an article that you actually found, and it's called I'm Child Free. These are the stupidest things people say to me. So we took some of that and then we sprinkled on our own because we have heard it all our lives. And also, our community members share them, the people on social media share them with us, the women in my program. So I'm excited to talk about these because some you've heard before and some you may not have. So we're going to jump into those.
Can I go negative with these rude comments?
Sure.
You know I like to really get into them. No, they are annoying. Speaking of rude comments,
Yes.
I have one that's not child-free related that I want to share, and I
Okay.
want to get your take on this. This
Yes.
happened. This one's a self-induced rude comment that I've taken and shaken and pushed back out, and it's all my fault, but I had to at least bring it up. I was recently somewhere, I won't mention where I was because I don't want to shout at this person, but I made a joke about my age, that typical self-deprecating joke of, oh, you know, at my age, I'm trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing more and more now that I'm not getting the, oh, you're 52? Or you're that old? You're not that old. I'm not getting that anymore. I'm getting that, yeah.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
For you.
And I'm like I'm upset at them, even though I'm instigating the self-deprecating comment towards myself. I'm mad that they're not coming back and saying
that you're wrong.
You're wrong. I didn't even know you were that old.
Right, exactly. Or when you say like, well, for my age, and you want someone to be like, no, you look great. You can't even tell how old
You
you
get
are.
that still,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's both. I think that we're both crossing over to that point where we're older, right? Like we're
I
just
know.
getting older.
I just miss it because I used to get it a lot when I was in my late 30s. They'll be like, "Oh, I thought you were in your 20s," and now it's like, "Oh yeah, you know, at my age at 52, you know, it gets a little crazy." And like I'm like looking up at them, like, kind of like eyeing them to see if they're surprised that I'm 52, and they're not. They're not surprised. They're like, they kind of give me a look like, oh, I thought you were maybe a little older.
I also wanted to tell you that, I mean, just for our child-free friends out there, if there is a place that exists where you just want to bow down to your child-free life, it's the airport. The
Explain.
airport experience. I was in Florida taking care of my mom, which I actually talked about in our last newsletter. Oh, and by the way, if you are listening to this and you're not getting a newsletter, go to childfreeconnection.com because you can sign up for that. I was in Florida, so I had to obviously fly there and back. And I don't know why, but I just experienced so many examples of just nightmare parenting situations. It was just very chaotic. It was very loud, trying to get the kids calm, trying to bring the tantrums down. And I just put on my noise cancellation AirPods in and breathe and try to stay calm because traveling is so stressful, even when it's just one person, right? I just felt super, super grateful. I shared it inside our membership community, and everybody was just sharing how, yeah, the airport is definitely a place to say, okay, I feel really good about this decision right now.
I don't think I would travel if I had kids. I don't think I would bring them on the airplane. I mean, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, but you have to if you want to go anywhere because you can't just leave them.
Well, thank God for noise canceling headphones. That's for sure.
Oh, I know.
You were in Florida, and I know that you were with your mom, and she's going through a lot health wise right now. I've been doing some research, and we have our first step towards elder care and AI. Are you ready for this? By the way, this is not endorsing anything.
Yes.
I just was Googling it. The product is called LEQ, and it is a desktop robot with a flat screen, like an iPad.
Okay.
And it's fully engaging, and it's specifically tailored towards elder care. And we're thinking about getting it for your mom, possibly.
Seeing these things pop up, especially for the elder community that's going through any sort of dementia, it just seems like such an amazing tool to have. And also, even if you don't have any mental health issues, just companionship, right?
That's really what I'm getting at. And I'm very excited about having a robot friend when I get older.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're excited to dive into that more, and we'll definitely share it here as we explore it further. Let's get right into these rude comments.
The rude comments.
Because there's so many of them, so we had to narrow it down. And just to say it again, the article that sparked this is called I'm Child Free. These are the stupidest things people say to me by Cassia Delgado. This woman shares how she was asked, do you have children? And the woman said no. And this man responded and he said, so you couldn't be bothered with the responsibility, huh? And that is one that comes up all the time. It is completely intertwined that having children equals responsibility. And that's actually was the topic of our newsletter this week. And it just couldn't be further from the truth, right? And then I shared also in our newsletter that my viewpoint is that the fact that we don't have kids has opened up the space for me and for us to handle any level of responsibility that comes our way. Things change as time goes on. We will have all sorts of responsibilities, but aside from making sure that we're paying our bills, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our health, taking care of our mental and physical health, just being present for the people around us, responsibilities can really show up in very mysterious ways.
When someone says that comment to me that you don't want to take on the responsibility of having children, my response is correct. You're right. I am not prepared to take on that responsibility. That's why I'm not having them. That's called a good decision. Instead, it should be flipped, and you should say, you are very responsible in your decision making because you chose not to have kids. Just got to flip it around on them. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, of course.
Well, there's plenty of irresponsible parents out there.
Well, that's a great comment to make. There are plenty of irresponsible parents out there. Well, this also goes back to the idea of someone who is, let's say, 18 and 19, and they have a child, automatically they fall into the category of being responsible adults. But someone who is, let's say, 40 and 41, they don't have a child, and they're falling into the category of not being responsible adults. So it just completely doesn't make sense.
Another rude comment that I have heard is, don't you want to know what your baby looks like? I have heard that. And
Yeah,
you
we've
know what
heard
my answer to that is again? No, I don't. I get it. It's going to look a little bit like me. It might look a little bit like her. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. Naturally, we've talked about it before, maybe that sure, you wonder, like you and I have wondered
But a little one
what
of
a
us would
little
be
one
like,
of us would be like. I think that's completely normal to go through that curiosity phase of it. But for someone to say, well, don't you just want to know what this baby would look like in future person is just so, I don't know. It's such a crazy thing to
well,
say.
let me just say, I don't think you should be making major life decisions based off of just random curiosities, right?
Right.
If
Right.
just because I want to know what something would look like a baby, I'm not going to do it just to see like, oh, it kind of looks like me. And then it's like, wait, now I got to take care of this baby forever. So that comment is just ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't make any sense at all. But
I'm
people
curious
love,
about a lot of things. Like, I'm
yeah,
curious what it would be like to jump out of an airplane, but I'm not going to do it. I'm terrified of heights. And back to the AI talk,
mhm,
you can now put our faces together and we could create a AI generated version of what our baby would look like.
right.
So there,
So
that problem solved. That would be funny if someone was just like, don't you want to know what your baby would look like, you and Veronica's? I'd be like, we do. Here, this is what our baby would look like. And we hold up the picture. It's called technology.
the next one that someone shared with us is that they hear, well, it's not natural to not have
What does that
kids.
mean exactly? What does that mean? I'm serious. I'm so confused. It's not natural to have kids.
To not have kids. It's not
Right.
natural to have not have kids. And I think that this goes under the whole just pronatalist view of this is something that everybody should do, regardless of the situation you're in, regardless if you're going to be a good parent or not. So I think that this is what people are saying. It's not natural. And maybe it's more odd to you to hear because this comment is definitely geared more towards women who are in the decision making process of perhaps not having kids, and people will say to them like, well, that's just not natural. Also, people say it's not normal. I would put normal and natural in the same category.
Okay. Normal makes a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah.
But what's normal? I mean, it's not normal to do a lot of the things that we do, but we do them because we instinctually want to.
Yeah.
Just like we
Exactly.
instinctually didn't want to have children. And if someone instinctually wants to have kids, have kids. It's
Right.
just, you got to
Exactly.
go with what you feel internally. It's really important to just stay true to yourself and not be swayed in any type of direction on any type of decision. And just a real quick fun fact about me
Yeah.
that I think you'll agree, I am not
Not
normal
normal.
and I am totally okay with it. I'm really not normal. I've realized that. And then I realized being not normal is normal because we're all individuals. What is normal anyway? Who
I
dictates
know.
what normal is?
I know. I know.
It's so
That
stupid.
that word really bothers me. Actually, in my program, I go into a whole session about this exact thing, and we talk about normality, what it is. We really break it down because I have so many people walking into my program with this limiting belief that they're not normal, right? And in our case, that for our example, that it's not natural for them not to want to have kids. And it's just something that really needs to be explored because, especially as a woman, it can get really confusing. And
Mhm.
one more thing I want to say, because I meant to say it earlier and I forgot. This weekend, I am doing a live training called Help. I Can't Decide If I Want Kids. And I'm really excited about it. People can just go to ischildfreeforme.com to sign up for the free webinar. It's going to be 60 minutes. And this is really my way to support women that are in indecision right now. This is my way of just showing them love and care and appreciation and just really laying out what's going on, why they're feeling this way. And I'm going to share some tips of how they can start finding some clarity around this. This is for all women, whether you are already 100% child free, but still something's holding you back from feeling confident, or you're completely on the fence and you just feel like you have no idea which way to turn. Go to ischildfreeforme.com and sign up for my free training. I'm really excited to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. You could call it help. I'm not sure if I want kids, and that's totally normal because that is normal to not want kids.
Yes.
All right. What other rude comments? This is fun. We could do a part 2 on this one. What are some other ones?
This next one is something that I've certainly heard, and I know that a lot of our listeners have heard. It feels really dismissive when people tell you this. People will tell you that you will change your mind. We all have a right to change our minds, obviously. But when someone else tells you that you're going to change your mind, it's basically saying that I don't believe that you know what you're talking about. I don't think that you have thought this through. And I think that you're making a giant mistake.
This one might rank as the number one rudest comment you can make, because you're absolutely right. I mean that seriously. It's rude. It's cruel. It's cruel to put that pressure on somebody to do anything, not just about having kids, but you'll change your mind about whatever.
Right.
And it takes away from their own personal progress in a weird way, because it makes them feel like they're doing something wrong. And that's awful. That's a horrible thing to say. Anybody listening to this, anyone says that to you, just turn your back on them and walk the other direction is my advice.
Well, that's Rick's advice. Mine might
yes, that is my advice. I feel good about that advice. I mean that. You'll change your mind. Don't worry, you'll change your mind. You know what? You don't know me. Even if you're my good friend, you don't really know me as far as what I want and, need.
Well, and it's also, think about it this way. If somebody was coming to us and they were visibly pregnant, and what if we told them, you might change your mind?
Or even, equivalent.
Yeah.
You sure you wanted to do that? Doesn't look comfortable. And it's got a lot of responsibility.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying it's kind of similar.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it sounds so incredibly rude when you're saying those comments, but that's what people don't realize, that it's the same thing coming in our direction from people that are parents. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Hey, you know what? We're going to go with your advice of turn around and walk away if someone tells you that you're going to.
Yeah, that one, sorry. I'm getting really worked up because that one really bothers me. I think I've had people say that to me, not about having kids, but about other things.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was in a very insecure place where I believed them and I did those things. And 99.9% of the times that I did what other people said I should be doing, it was a mistake.
Right.
And I look back on it with regret.
Yes.
And I don't want anyone to do that. It's just I'm very passionate about that particular thing. I blame myself. I mean, in a lot of ways, I should have been strong enough to not listen to them, but I wasn't. And I did. You know of some of them. I brought them up to you before.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is something that if you're trying to process a major decision in your life, and it could be anything, right? Not like you just said, not just decisions to have kids, and you're really struggling with it, and it just feels you're on shaky ground and you don't know which way to turn. If somebody comes in with you'll change your mind, and not only is it rude, but it can be really hurtful, right? Because the person doesn't understand what kind of internal process you're going through. So yeah, definitely we want to completely ignore that comment and just come ask us.
The one I get the most is who's going to carry on your bloodline.
Oh,
and I've had friends that actually have had kids because they did want to carry on their bloodline.
Right.
And then they've asked me, like, when you die, it's going to die with you. And I go, that's fine. I'll be dead. I don't care. That's how I feel. I don't mean that as a joke. Like, that's really, I mean, it's
I know.
First of all, that comment is completely based in ego. It's all about what my bloodline is more special than another person's bloodline. Like, I'm not royalty.
Right.
I'm royalty. I am royalty in my own way.
Right.
Because I really believe in myself, but I don't need to pass that
Right.
royalty on.
Right. And even if you were, and that's probably where this conditioning comes from, right? Just centuries of this belief where,
That's what it
right,
is.
you're passing on it, like when we watch those Viking shows, they don't even
Yeah.
care that the female is born. It's about because we don't get the comment as much as you do. Some women will get it, but this is really all about the male need for
Yeah.
extending their DNA past their
Well,
lifetime.
it's a very dated expression because it was about having offspring to rule, to continue to rule the
Right, the
land.
kingdom, right. And I also hear it a lot when I'm speaking to the women in my program because their partners are only children. So their parents are giving them a lot of pressure about having kids because the quote unquote bloodline ends with them. So
Yeah.
because the partner's parents are applying pressure on the partner, then the pressure is being applied to the women that are coming into my program, and it just gets very layered and very complicated.
And by the way, I want to just expand on this a little bit. We
Yeah.
assume that our bloodline or our legacy in
Yeah.
the future is going to be a positive one. What
Right.
if my bloodline ends up being a serial killer? That's not going to be a good legacy to live behind. There are no guarantees that your bloodline is going to be successful, be a good
Yes.
contributor to society in any way,
Right,
shape, or
exactly.
form. We just
Who
assume, like,
knows? 100.
again,
Yeah.
ego.
Yeah.
We just assume like my bloodline will
Right.
grace this planet
Yeah.
after I'm gone. It's
Yeah.
like, shut up.
Right.
All right, I'm
We're
sorry.
both
I
we're
told you.
both feeling spicy
I
today.
didn't.
So
Yeah, we're feeling spicy. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, and I didn't want to lean negative. I'm sorry. So let's bring the positivity back. Okay, what's another one?
this is one that Kelly, who is a member of our membership community, brought up. She said that
I love
people
Kelly. Shout out to Kelly.
people would tell her all the time that she was being pessimistic about having kids. And I think that this ties into, I
Pessimist.
know, yeah, it just doesn't even make any sense.
There's nothing but optimism of not having children, in my opinion. My humble opinion.
Because I think that, because when she first told me, I was confused. And I'm like, what do you mean? Tell me more. And this actually ties in with the you're just overthinking having children
Yeah.
because she was laying it out and being really mindful and thoughtful about what this would mean for her. So people were saying that she's being pessimistic, which I guess they're thinking if she was optimistic, she would just have one because she wouldn't be thinking about it so much, right? So what she said is that she figured out that she was actually being realistic. So
Right. That is a great point.
She started telling people like, I'm not being pessimistic, I'm being realistic. But yeah, those comments like you're being pessimistic, you're overthinking, they all tie in together with the idea of don't worry about it, just have one, you'll be fine.
Yeah, and listen, if you're optimistic about having kids, have
Yeah.
kids.
Right.
You know, if that's
Exactly.
your energy going into it.
Right.
But if you're pessimistic and you're looking at all the negatives, it might be something you want to question.
So another one that was in the article was that one of the women shared that someone said to her, nobody knows real pain until you go through childbirth. How many people in our community are chronic pain sufferers?
Yeah.
And they're going through excruciating pain on a daily basis. To tell someone that you have no idea what pain is until you go through childbirth is just another
Ignorant.
way of being again filing it under a rude comment and just exactly not being sensitive to someone else who may be undergoing a lot of physical pain when you tell them that.
The thought of going through something like that scares the hell out of me. I just
like
I
standing
can't.
by.
People are like, "Oh, I want to be in the room when the child, you know, it's no, I don't want to be in there." There's a
You
whole
want to
thing
be
of,
back in the 1950s where like the men were smoking the cigars in the other room? If that
no,
was
I
ever
don't want to be back in
happen?
the 1950s. I'm not good with blood and that kind of stuff. I'm not good with that. Fun story. My mom was in the room when my sister-in-law was giving birth to my niece.
Mhm.
And she called me during the birth and it was at work. And I'm like, what's happening? And she's like, is everything okay? And she's like, I'm in the labor room and I heard a scream in the background. And it's the first time where I was like, that's what it sounds like when someone's being murdered. I'm not even joking. That's a real story. And I was just like, wow, is she okay? And she's like, of course, this is beautiful what's happening right now. This is so beautiful. She's crying. And I'm like scared. I'm nervous for
That's a
her.
weird phone call to make, no? That your mom called you? Did you ask her to call you during this?
No,
Oh,
no.
yeah, that's very
I
odd.
think I might have said something like, "Hey, let me know when the baby comes." But I didn't want to
Like,
know literally.
literally.
Yeah. I'm surprised she didn't put her on the phone.
So this next one is pretty serious and it actually affects people a lot. And I mean, it's something that I've thought about. I'm sure that it's something that you've thought about. But for some reason, it's super geared and focused towards child-free people. People will say, what are you going to do if your partner dies
Mm,
before you? It's implying yet again that you're going to be completely alone and lost and miserable and depressed. God forbid this was to happen. I've thought about this a lot that if you do have kids and your partner does die early or before you, yeah, people who make that comment might see it as like now you have companionship, but you're also putting kids through a lot of pain, a lot of emotion. And now you are trying to process something horrible because you just lost your partner. And at the same time, you have to be strong enough to take care of little ones and be emotionally available for them. So it's not like one situation is ideal and the other isn't, right? I really
yeah.
view as those are equally traumatizing situations that can have different outcomes. And it just makes no sense to tell a child free person, well, what are you going to do? Because my answer is, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So now you're
Right.
implying that you're just going to lean on your kids for support at a time where they can barely hold themselves together. So I don't know. Have you heard this one before?
Yeah, I have. And there's so many layers to it. I think that people just cling to their biggest fears and project them on others. I'll be honest, I've thought about that before. Like, God forbid anything happened to you. How would I handle that?
Mhm.
But I certainly never have thought, oh, well, I wish if I had kids, I'd feel better about that. It just doesn't have a place in this conversation. It really doesn't.
Right.
It's
And
it's just a projection, in my opinion.
yeah, and also what it does is it minimizes what we talk here on the podcast all the time. It doesn't speak to the idea that we share here of how important it is to build community, to have multi-generational friends, to really embrace your hobbies and your passions, and to really get involved with perhaps mentoring people or
Mhm.
to get involved in volunteer work or the community. Like that just basically that comment takes all that aside and pretends that it doesn't exist and solely focuses on the point that this person is going to be alone and miserable if that was to happen. So in the article there was this comment that was made that said not having kids and thinking you understand what it's like to be human is like eating sand and believing you know about food. Do you want me to read it to you again? Because it really
Yes.
doesn't make any sense. I
Yeah,
had to
that
read it
doesn't
a
make
few
any
times
sense.
to understand this woman's point. And what this woman is saying is that everyone should have kids. So she said, not having kids and thinking you understand what it's like to be human is like eating sand and believing you know about food. I mean,
I mean, it's such a stretch. I'm sorry. It's like, does anyone have anything better to do with their time than come up with some weird metaphor that makes almost zero sense? I get what she's trying to say, but again, it's so rude. It's just rude.
it just speaks to how relentless people are in their pronatalist views and in their insisting that we have kids. People will just continue to make these rude comments, continue to make these painful comments, but it is our job to a pay attention to where this comment is coming from. B, choose to receive it or not, right? Because we have the power to say, I am not going to receive this comment that you just made.
Sure.
And C, know that it's just not true. And if you forget, you can just come back and listen to this podcast because we'll just keep telling you that this is just certain people's way of bringing us down. And I mean, you and I are a perfect example of two people who have heard these comments throughout our lives, but here we are and just showing gratitude. I mean, you start the podcast with gratitude every week, but we literally show gratitude for our child-free life almost every day. And I think it just keeps growing as we get older.
Yeah.
Don't listen to those people.
No, don't listen to anybody but yourself at the
Yeah.
end of the day. And we talk about gratitude, you're right, all the time. And I look back, and for me, I say I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life, but the best decision I made was not having kids.
Right.
For me. It
Right.
just wasn't in the cards. And
Yeah.
I knew that. I always knew that. There were times where I said I was just going to have them because that's what the relationship dictated. I'm so happy that I didn't. And I'm just very grateful. And I'm going to continue to be grateful every day.
Also, it's just about kindness, right? Just
Yeah.
being kind towards one another and respecting our decisions and our choices. So I think that we'll just end it on that. I'm glad that we got to chat today because we took a little break from the podcast while I was away, and I'm really glad that we got a chance to do it today.
Yeah, and your hair's almost dry. It's almost dry. That's how long this podcast has been.
Yeah.
Not really. Yeah, you got some thick hair. I'm happy to be back at it. Be sure to follow, rate, and review. Get the message out there. We're spreading the love of this child-free life, and follow us on all the socials and check out our website, thechildfreeconnection.com.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget about my free live training this weekend is childfreeforme.com.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.